Now, the cost of developing natural gas is coming down dramatically for Sub-Saharan Africa with the advent of new technologies. Discovered reserves of gas have also increased massively in recent years, but there remain significant challenges in making the most of these new sources. CGTN's Ryntjes reports from Washington.
1.2 trillion cubic feet of gas is flared off from oil drilling and refining sites each year in Africa, the equivalent of almost half of all current gas consumption on the continent. The costs for developing infrastructure have been high, either for distributing gas regionally through pipelines or in liquefying natural gas, LNG, to be shipped elsewhere.
The size of the market often makes it difficult to justify the kinds of investments needed in those pipelines and facilities. So if you have a large gas market, supply, but a relatively small market, which is characteristic for much of Africa, then it's challenging to develop these offshore resources. At the same time, again, because of the size of investments needed for LNG, it's not always easy to justify the kinds of export projects.
Now, companies like Modec are meeting with African governments to demonstrate how floating platforms can drastically reduce costs, combining systems to regasify LNG for onshore use, with the option of including a power plant and water desalination system on the same vessel or barge.
50 to 70% of the world's population lives along the coast. So if you think about that, we can park these along our entire African coast and service at least 50 to 70% of the population with this technology.
The World Bank is providing assistance, including over $1 billion worth of loans, guarantees and political insurance to accelerate the development of the Sankofa gas field off the coast of Ghana.
It has the potential to be a game changer for the country in terms of its energy matrix. Essentially, this is an $8 billion project, one of the largest investments throughout Africa, and the World Bank Group has really played a pretty significant role in helping to provide the financing.
In planning their strategies, countries like Tanzania will need to factor in predictions of low prices for natural gas, given that it's becoming much more abundant as a globally traded commodity. A key challenge will be finding the right balance between exporting overseas and feeding rising domestic demand for energy production in homes and businesses across Sub-Saharan Africa. Ryntjes, CGTN, Washington.